One thing queer, one thing queer, one thing queer. Let's get one thing queer. Let's get one thing queer.
Hello and welcome to One Thing Queer. My name's Jenny Baton and my pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Kelsey Wren and my pronouns are she, her.
Hi, friend.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm tired.
I'm tired too.
I had 2 nights in a row where I stayed out past 10. I even stayed out past midnight.
That's crazy for you.
That's all I'm doing for the rest of the year.
Yes. And that like Aries energy, the fire energy.
Yeah, I'm exhausted.
I know. Welcome. And we're trading.
Oh my god. We said we were going to trade, I guess. So I'm tired. It's tired on this side of the I was going to say planet, but
I mean, pretty much.
yeah, I guess so. Oh my god. But yeah, we're just out here.
Yeah, we're just out here. I may sound a little different because I've been having crazy allergies. I mean, I feel so much better than I did a few days ago, but I was at the beach for the past 3 days, so I feel like the dust or the sand in my nose did not help. But yeah, that's why I sound different. That's why I sound like, very low.
Mine is just because I was if I talk too high, my voice is gonna crack. So gotta keep it low down here.
How are you?
I'm good. Yeah. No, imagine if I gave you nothing.
You're like, I'm good. Oh, I'm good too.
Yeah. No.
And that was your shooting the shit.
I'm good. It's been when did we record? Like 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
So in that time, not much happened just in the last few days. I went to my niece's wedding. My family came into town, so I got to see my mom and dad. That was cool.
Very nice.
Yeah, I got to see them a couple times. We did dinner. They came and hung out at the Bee's Hive. So, so we did that. And the wedding was beautiful, and it was nice to see. It was nice to see family too. It's been a while, so that was really cool. And then Saturday, we went to Sandy's birthday party.
We sure did.
And that was a blast. Like, you guys left before karaoke.
Well, we left right as soon as karaoke was starting.
It was wild.
Oh my god.
It was hilarious though, but it was really fun, and Sandy's house is phenomenal, and like I had explained to you the first time I went there that like how much plants Sandy has and like how magical it is. But I was like, and you were like, I was not prepared. I'm like, there's literally no words I can convey this message.
No. It was like a museum in there.
Yeah, it's I don't know how she has time for all those plants. It looks like a lot of upkeep, but
it does.
It's gorgeous. So yeah, it was really fun, and it was fun to like get out of the house and hang out. We got to hang out, so it was really nice.
You should tell everybody the story of when we got to Sandy's house.
So we park, and like I'm completely. We park and we meet up with your partner, and I'm with my partner, and we're about to go to the front door, and I'm completely confident that this is the house that I've been to before. And we open the door, and it's like a bunch of people because there was a bunch of cars outside. So we're like, oh yeah, there's a party here, totally. So we open the door, and they're like, yeah, and we're like,
they literally were like, who are you guys? And we're like, we're here for Sandy.
And they're like, oh, we have a Sandy, but like we're not having a party. Like
no, they said, but she doesn't have friends.
And it was very embarrassing, but it was hilarious. We didn't even think to look at the house number. I was just like, oh, this is totally it. Like
I just like I exited my maps like when we got there, and I'm like, yeah, it says like it's right here, like the vicinity. I didn't even pay attention to the number.
Yeah, same. And Bernie even wanted to park further down, actually towards Sandy's house, and I'm like, no, it's over here. Like here's all the cars parked here. Like, where are you going? And he was right without knowing he was right.
His intuition.
Yeah, it was. We were like, all right, well, I guess see you later.
They were like, be gone.
we were very much a major inconvenience for their night.
We sure were.
It was hilarious, but it was really fun. We stayed out late though, so no more out late for me.
Yeah, I think I left at like 12 because by the time I got home, I texted you and you were like, "Oh, we're home too."
Yeah, we left at like 12:30 or almost 1.
Yeah,
but we're only like 15 minutes away, so it was much. Yeah, but
yeah, happy belated birthday, Sandy. We love you.
Yes,
and we're gonna have Sandy on again this year.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
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 But that's all I did pretty
Okay.
much. Yeah, I worked other than that.
Cool.
What about you? What'd you do?
This week I had a job for Spencer's, the store. So
Ew.
yeah, it was a 3-day shoot. So I was just working this week for the most part. This week I did not make content for Celestial Light Witch just because I just did not have time and energy. I had it was like a very work heavy week this week, but I'm not complaining because it had been slow. So I'm welcoming in the work.
Yeah.
May the work come in.
Add it to the list.
Yes. Add it to my list. Exactly. But yeah, there's like a lot of stuff that I feel like this week I have a slower week that I really want to like buckle down and plan out. I have a lot of exciting stuff to share, but I'm not going to share it until it happens. I will have like probably an announcement next week.
I mean, same.
Yeah. So stay tuned for that. We have news for y'all.
Yeah.
Next week. But yeah, we've been kind of like also planning getting more guests on the podcast.
Yeah.
And I went on Lex, the app where I met my partner, and it's also like for friends and community. So I did a post about trying to find people that would want to come on the podcast, and we got a lot of replies.
That's awesome.
So I need to also buckle down and respond to them and plan it out, because I'm really excited to have guests on this year.
Same.
So
We were both putting in work because like when we got to talk yesterday, I was like, oh, well, I talked to somebody too. Like we were both, without knowing, we were putting in work.
I mean, we're in sync.
Yeah,
Always.
always.
Nothing new, friend. But yeah, I mean, that was my week.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I'll share more next week.
Okay. How exciting. Yay. I already know. Haha. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding. But yeah, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I guess that concludes.
Shooting the shit.
All right, friend, what are we talking about today?
I think we're going to talk about how do we get out of a spiritual slump? How do we pull out of the depths of the dark of the soul of the hell?
I love this topic. I've been waiting for you to want to do a spiritual episode, because like
I always do.
Well, sometimes I feel like, I mean, that's why we're doing it.
To be fair, there's a lot of times where I'm like, I really don't want to hear that right now.
Yeah.
You're right.
I just like, I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it'll come. I knew the day was going to come, and the day is today.
Yeah, it is here.
It is here, friend.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's something I've been thinking about too, because it's no secret that I've been like having like a rough time. And a lot of it, when I'm having a rough time, I don't want to reach out in those ways. Like for me, a lot of time I know that one specific thing will fix it. And if that one specific thing doesn't happen, then I'm like, nope, nothing's going to work until that one thing happens. And even Bernie is like, well, we could do this. Do you want to journal? Do you want to do this? Like trying to help me. I'm like, no, I need this other thing to happen. And then we can move from there. I just can't focus on the other things. So, but I obviously, not everyone works like I do. So,
And everybody's on their own path.
yeah. So we thought we would give like tips, and who better than to ask you?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I'm sure there's many people who are better.
No, friend. I trust you with your advice, and I don't know.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. I am a guide.
Yeah.
So, okay, where do we start? I think first and foremost, I think it's important to note that it's such a normal feeling to ride the wave of being spiritual, because being spiritual is a path. It's a journey. Journey meaning that it has its ups and downs. It has its highs and lows. It has its moments of neglect, like where you just neglect and you don't want anything to do with it. And I think it's completely normal, and I think it's completely okay. And it doesn't make you any less spiritual. That's what I love about spirituality. It's whatever you want to make from it.
Yeah.
It's not anything structured. There's no black and whiteness to it. It's very much about finding what works for you and incorporating it into your own moral base, into your own moral compass, into your wants and needs, desires. And I mean, it's a form of therapy too. So it's normal. Any type of relationship, including the relationship with yourself, is going to be a type of journey when it comes to it. There's going to be, it's never constant, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And I've been there before.
Mm-hmm.
For me, whenever I'm trying to get out of a spiritual slump, honestly, one of the things that works for me personally, which may not work for a lot of people, is making it a point to meditate and grounding myself. So whether it's grounding myself or meditating or doing both, just being out in nature helps so much because it takes you out of your head. Because a lot of the time, I think the reason why we get into a spiritual slump is because we're so stuck on being a human being, which is like normal, you know, because we are human beings.
Check. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. And it's important to take it easy on yourself in those moments and know that it's okay and you're not a failure if, you know, you find it difficult to be grounded.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something that is an easy thing to do. But I think it's just about taking the necessary steps for yourself if you want to.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the things I meant when I was talking about like New Year's resolutions, is like knowing that like, okay, it's time to get up and like your self-care is not wallowing anymore. Like you are actively participating in making yourself feel crappier. Like for myself. Yeah. Like I know I'm like self-sabotaging and like not letting myself get better when I know the steps of what to do. But a lot of that, it just takes the earthly pressures of capitalism is so it's really hard. Like especially like not to bring it around to astrology, but like my Capricorn placements are very strong, and a lot of them are also in my, I think it's the 6th house, which is like all about routines. It's all about routine based. So like I've always said the weekends are my nightmare because I don't exactly have to stick to a routine, and it's very frustrating to like I don't know. I really like structure, I guess. Yeah. So to not have stable structure sometimes, it just really throws me for a loop, and I kind of feel like I get tossed around in the wind a little bit. But I mean, again, I know how to fix that. It's about the self-care of, all right, you need to do something for yourself at this point. Like, absolutely. You know, and I think that would be like the first step in that to remedy that feeling, you know, in your spiritual slump, I guess. Yeah.
It's finding your own way to ground. Yeah. It's because everybody grounds in different ways. And that's like another thing is like whatever method you hear about may not always work for you. You know, even meditating is not for everyone. For me, it was like what I was able to grasp onto when I first started my awakening, and actually feeling a sense of not lacking something. I think when I started to meditate, I would get this like sense of, lack of a better word, kind of being under the influence. Okay. For me, it was easy for me to like leave alcohol when I first started my awakening, because I'm like, I rather meditate because I've had crazy shit happen when I meditate, and I'm like, and that's fucking cool. You know, it's like doing drugs, you know, like it's like, ooh, I'm tripping, but I'm literally not harming my body. I'm just literally healing my body and being in my body and remembering that I'm a soul first and foremost before being a human being. And that's ultimately, I think, the main thing to remember is remembering that we aren't this meat sack that we're living in, that our soul is living in. We're forever our soul. And I think remembering that and coming to terms with that can really help you get back into your body and really ground yourself. Yeah, definitely. And even talking about like, a lot of times I know you talk about grounding, like going out into nature. That's not something I would do. I probably wouldn't meditate either. I know my grounding is very different. Yeah. So it's just a matter of doing that also. Yeah. It's journaling. It could be literally whatever feels right to you isn't wrong. Yeah. Like there's no black and white way to do this. That's kind of, the whole point, I suppose. So yeah, I guess finding the will to not self-sabotage anymore, and then further grounding. And I want to add in there further protecting, because there's a lot of times that even we feel it, not that it's bad, even between me and you, I'm like, this isn't my energy that I feel. I feel your energy. And whether it's good or bad, or if we're not feeling well, there's a lot of time
especially if you interact in a place where there's a lot of employees or coworkers, that's a lot of energy that you're taking on daily. And especially for somebody who I get overstimulated, like even though I like stimulation, I like my own stimulation. I like to learn things, but from people, I get overstimulated very easily.
You like controlled stimulation.
Yes, I like to, and this is awful. I like the stimulation without the emotional connection to it. Like if somebody's trauma dumping all day, because a lot of people don't realize they do that when they're telling like family stories. They think they're just sharing like, this is what happened during the week, but sometimes it's traumatic and you're like, oh my God, I didn't want to hear that.
I didn't want to like have that in the back of my head until I went to bed and like have it drain the fuck out of me.
Exactly. So a lot of those like, and like if you're in a place, the social dynamic between people can also be very draining, even if it has nothing to do with you.
Oh yeah.
So that would be a part of like protection.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's talk about protection, because that is something that's kind of been a recurring topic lately for me. Protection is so important because we all have auras, right? So like we all have auric fields. Whenever I do Reiki and I tend to read people's auras and like clean their auras, what I see when I see auras is I see little leeches of like energy. They kind of look like a roly-poly, but like bigger. In people's auric fields, and that's usually just little leeches that grab onto your aura depending on like where you've been, depending who you've been with. And if those leeches are attached to the other person and you are very open, or there's a lot of light inside of you, you will encounter energy vampire. An energy vampire is somebody who tends to have a little bit of like a darker energy around them, whether it's like, depression, sadness, whatever emotion it may be. And when they see light or they see someone that has something that they don't have, they tend to latch onto that. That's why I think it's important for everybody to have good spiritual hygiene when it comes to cleansing yourself. Crystals are a great tool to help cleanse your auric field as well. Also, the practice of dry bathing, which is a practice that I learned in my Reiki practice, and anybody could do it. It's basically when you take your hands and you basically clean yourself, like clean your body, like your arms, your legs, your hands, and you kind of just dispose of the energy that isn't yours, and then you transmute it back into earth. That's dry bathing. Then I always carry either Florida water. I also made a protection mist that is charged by moon water, and basically just making your own protection things. Like, or even another practice I do is whenever I'm trying to set a protection barrier, if I'm going to be around a crowded space, I pretend I'm like drawing a symbol with light, and then I put it into my heart, like that little symbol that I drew out. And then that symbol ends up like amplifying in my auric field in my body. And I pretend there's like a bubble around me whenever I go somewhere. If I'm ever driving in the car and I feel like it's like kind of dangerous to drive, when it's raining, I pretend there's an energy bubble in my car and that nothing can happen to it, that I will be safe in this energy bubble. It's just about being conscious and setting the intention of protecting yourself if you're going to be around, energies or people, or big crowded people that are going to latch onto your energy, even if they don't do it like consciously. It's just important, even if it's good energy too. You must, I think it's important to protect yourself even with good energy, because it's ultimately, at the end of the day, you want to go to bed with your own energy.
Exactly.
Nobody else's.
I would wager even like a lot of people who are like energy vampires don't even realize they're doing it. They just feel that they want something because it feels good, and they don't even realize that like it's always, not to take any accountability off them, but like I feel like a lot of times it's even subconscious. They don't even know why they want to be around certain people, but they do. And it's like, oh, because and for some reason when I hang out with that person, it feels better. And they don't even like understand
why.
Like, why? Exactly.
And it doesn't make people bad people. It just it it just is what it is.
Yeah.
And you know, I've encountered, there's still energy vampires in my life that I have, but I always set the intention.
Yeah.
And every time I set the intention, I don't feel drained after because I have the control over my own energy.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just setting the intention of being like, nothing is coming into my energy field.
I feel like a lot of times even protection is always so overlooked in any kind of like spiritual practices, or even like when you're doing tarot. Like a lot of people don't just have that. Like a lot of people are like, I want to learn how to like do a spell for this, but like, how about like, let's just start with protection first, because if you're gonna dabble in some more complex things, you want to make sure that nothing can come through on you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that the sources that you're trying to get guidance from are truly those sources that you're calling in.
Yeah.
Because if you're not careful, you could be calling in some dark entities, which can also be scary.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
Any water. The next thing would be manifesting. I think that's also like a thing that is important when it comes to being in a spiritual slump. Sometimes we forget that the concept of manifestation is present and it's there and it's like an option. Sometimes I feel like we get caught up in being a human being and like feeling powerless, feeling hopeless, because that's what society has, you know, inflicted into us. And the number one emotion that society has implemented into our everyday life is fear. Fear of not being able to survive, of not being able to have food. And that's all connected to your root chakra, which goes back to grounding. But I think it's also like coming back to that place of like, wait, I can manifest. And like a human emotion of when it comes to manifestation that I think is very common is like, this is bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm sure you feel it, and I feel it all the time.
I hear it too, but I noticed a trend on TikTok that like lucky girl syndrome. Have you heard of that yet?
No.
So on TikTok, people are like, oh, this person has lucky girl syndrome, and it's like, well, because. And they would like talk to this person and they would like, well, I always think everything's gonna work out for me, and that's manifesting. Like, so like you know, Bernie's like extremely lucky. Bernie's extremely lucky, but that's because Bernie thinks he's extremely lucky. And he is. And it just is a circle where it keeps manifesting because he thinks he is, so he is, and then he becomes it, and then he's like, oh, I am.
Exactly.
You know, I'm notoriously unlucky in my brain. So for me, I become unlucky. Like, it's a form of manifesting. Like, the words are strong.
Yeah, people don't realize how powerful your words that you say, the thoughts that you think, play into your everyday life and how things will pan out for you. So if you're constantly telling yourself, oh, I'm not gonna get that, oh, I'm not as talented, and you're constantly comparing yourself and like, oh, and even the emotion of envy, that's something I also talked about and thought about this week. I mean, when you're envious, I feel like you push away your manifestations. You push away that thing that you're envying. In a way, like when you're in that emotion, in my opinion.
Definitely, that makes sense, because a lot of times when you envy something, it may seem better to you, but it's not for you. So what's for you is gonna be great because it's for you. And
the idea of envy too, it's like you're stuck in this lack mentality, and that is the complete opposite of manifesting.
That's a great way to put it.
When you're in a lack mentality of like, oh, I don't have enough this, I don't have that, I don't have this, and this person does. When you're spending all that energy like just focusing on the grass on the other side, you're literally pushing away even more.
I feel like you're downloading for me right now, by the way.
I feel like I've been downloading since I pushed that
started.
button. I'm like, I honestly can't remember half the shit I've said so far.
2 seconds before we were started, you were like, I'm not sure. But like everything, I'm like, oh, it's like completely resonating right now. And it's just it's that other thing too. It's a good reminder, like, because sometimes we don't listen to ourselves. Hence, trying to get out of the slump is we don't trust in our own abilities to pull ourselves up. And sometimes, sometimes we need a little help. Like, but I mean, not everyone lucky. Not everyone is as lucky to have like, people in their life to do that and help them. We all do need help, But I think for this, it's personal accountability about it. Like,
Yeah.
I need to do this for myself because it's for myself, and I need to matter.
Exactly.
To myself.
And I also try to tell people that when I'm doing tarot for them, like, okay, I'm reading the current energy, but ultimately, like, I am not going to, it's not my responsibility to tell you what to do. Like, you know, you're saying right now, what I'm saying is resonating to you, but this isn't anything you haven't already thought of.
Yeah.
And
That's why it resonates.
Yeah, that's why it resonates, because you're just getting confirmation that is what tarot and card readings are about. It's about advice. It's about getting clarity. It's also about, like, your spirit guides will fucking tell you, like, they're in your thoughts, like they know what you need to hear, and they know what you've been thinking, so they're gonna be pretty spot on, and they have a sense of humor, and like, they'll be blatant sometimes. So if you're, like, constantly asking the same questions, they can fuck with you.
Yeah, they're gonna be. I mean, I feel it. Like I told you when we talked about like our New Year's manifestations. Like, I heard in my head finally, because I was like, oh, my things to let go, and literally, clearly in my head, I heard finally, and I was like, I know it's just so hard. I'm trying. It's so hard for me, but like, that's all they've been asking me to do since the podcast, since we started, and we even the first day we talked about spirituality.
Yep.
It's that's it.
Yeah.
When will I learn?
You're learning, friend.
I'm learning. I'm kidding.
We're in the school of life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think people need to remember when you're in a spiritual slump, it's important to remember that I know it's hard sometimes to get out of that hole of like feeling like you're lacking something, but instead of focusing that energy on like what you don't have, focus the energy on like what you do have. And I'm telling you, the more gratitude you have every day, and the more you practice gratitude every single day, the more blessings come your way. And being content and happy. I'm not saying don't be ambitious or like, it's okay to want more, but be grateful in the moment for the things you have and for the things you don't have yet, because there's a reason why you don't have those things.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I guess the trusting too is very hard.
Yeah.
Especially for like control people.
Yeah.
Trusting that it's coming is hard. Yeah. Especially when you're not feeling well, or like feeling well about yourself, is that like, and I guess that's where a lot of those like low vibration like emotions come in, where you start to get angry and you start to get mad at the world, and then you start to get mad at yourself, and
it's a cycle.
Yeah, exactly. Of course. Just the same way the cycle is I was talking about with Bernie. Like, he's lucky because he knows he's lucky. He thinks he's lucky, and that's why. Yeah.
That's what it is.
So powerful.
So it's, just remembering that.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the title of this episode, how do you get out of this spiritual slump? I think it's just taking everything step by step and going at your own pace and being easy on yourself. Yeah. Because you can't fail on being spiritual. You can't fail. You can't be a bad, you could be a bad spiritual person in the sense of, I'm not judging. Yeah. But like, there's no judgment, there's no sins, there's no there's karma. I believe in karma personally. Not everybody does, but I believe in karma. But I think it's just being easy on yourself and doing little things like here and there, like doing one little practice a day, and like being like, okay, I'm gonna journal today. Okay, I'm gonna pull a card today. It's part of putting in the work for it. It's that's what's, like I was saying, that's what, like, I know the work I need to do. I need to put in the work to do it. And being compassionate with yourself, that if you don't do it that time, it's okay. And maybe you need a little bit more time than you originally wanted to get it done, and I ultimately also not being so hard on yourself about it. Like, I'm notoriously hard on myself, like extremely, and just being like, it's okay. We can light incense today, and maybe that's what we do to like cleanse the room a little. Exactly. And I think it's step-by-step little things, because I know personally too, when I look at the big project, I get very overwhelmed. And if I'm a big project, I'm like, oh, how am I going to fix all of these things in one day, when that's not realistic? No. So it's like, okay, what can we do today that might make me feel better? Oh, maybe I want to smell like a candle and like get some kind of sensory from it.
And the next day is like, maybe I want to create some art, and that will like make me feel better also. It's little steps like that.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. Because I definitely have been in slumps personally. I started my awakening back in August of 2020, and I went full throttle those first 4 months. Then I got into a relationship, and I kind of like, it took a back burner in my, like, once that relationship started, I wasn't meditating as much. I was going hardcore. Like, my Capricorn went full throttle. I was,
it's the only way we know.
I was meditating because it was like during quarantine, right? So I had all the time in the world. So I was meditating in the morning, 15 minutes, in the afternoon, 1 hour.
Wow, friend.
And in the evening, 30 minutes.
That's intense.
Every single
That's such
day.
a commitment.
I was like full throttle. I went vegan.
Yeah.
For 4 months. I stopped drinking alcohol. I didn't smoke weed. I still vaped. I never have stopped vaping. I've tried. Getting there. But I was like I was like using non-fluoride toothpaste. I went full throttle. I was not using anything with canola oil. I was not eating canola oil because I wanted my third eye to open. And honestly, all that stuff did help. And I'm not like that anymore, but I definitely saw a difference when it came to how open I was and how connected I was with my spirituality during that time. And maybe one day I'll get to that point again, but again, you have to take it easy on yourself and be compassionate, and also be aware that being spiritual doesn't look one way, and it's okay if you drink. You could be spiritual and drink. You could be spiritual and smoke weed. You could be spiritual and eat meat. Like, that's something I fought myself so hard about when I first started it, and I found myself in a cycle of like remembering what it was to be religious, and like the list and the guilt and the shame of it, and that defeats the purpose, because we incarnate to, guess what, be human, to be human and live a human experience, and that's ultimately the test. It's like when you do begin your enlightenment, it's like your spirit guides are testing you, and they're like, are you gonna be able to balance the two? Yeah. And I think there's a happy medium there, but take it easy. Yeah. And take little steps here and there. Like, I'm so good at tests. I'm just kidding. I know you are. But yeah, or like holding a crystal. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna spend some quality time with my crystal. I'm gonna like carry it around all day. Like a rose quartz because I want to work on my self-love, or my pyrite because I want to call in money, you know, like just doing little things like that. Definitely. You don't have to meditate or whatever you don't want to do. It's just a matter of like doing little things that you know will make you feel better. Definitely. For me, sometimes it's tea. Yeah. I like to mix a tea, and then I'm like, oh, okay, it feels kind of potion-y. So it makes me feel like, I'm like, oh, okay. I like start to have a more lighthearted, whimsical look of the world, instead of just so like, we need money. Like it grounds you. Yeah. Tea is extremely grounding because it comes from the earth. And not only that, but it is herbs. So it connects you to Mother Gaia. And yeah, I mean, little things like that, friend. That's a great example. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. 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 Go home and make tea. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if there's much more. That would kind of be like, in my eyes, what, like I said, knowing the steps and deciding not to self-sabotage is the next step. Yeah. You know, deciding that you want to feel better. There's a lot of times I think we also like energy vampire ourselves a little bit, where sometimes we just want to wallow, and that's not healthy either, because it creates that cycle, obviously. So just deciding that you want to get out of it, and that's hard sometimes, but it is. Yeah, and it's okay, and give yourself time. Yeah, definitely. Take it easy on yourself and just embrace, you know, whatever stage you are in your enlightenment and your spirituality and your connection to whatever you believe. The ultimate thing is to have compassion for yourself and to do what makes you feel good in the moment, and it's okay to wither sometimes. Yeah, that's part of being a human, and that's a part of being living a human experience, is experiencing all the emotions. That's why we incarnate, because once we ascend, my belief is like, you know, we don't get to taste food, we don't get to, you know, we have to have gratitude for the things we do get to experience, even the dark moments, because without those dark moments, we wouldn't be able to embrace and cherish the good ones.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love that.
I know, that was really good.
Thanks. Thanks,
Yeah.
spirit guides.
Yeah, right? So I think recap, we just grounding, protection, manifesting for sure, and putting in the work, but with compassion for yourself.
I love that. I love the way you put that one, last one.
That's what I do.
Look at us.
But I think that's definitely it. And
Okay.
taking your own advice, because I'm saying all of this.
But you already knew it.
Yeah, but I'm taking your own advice too, because sometimes you know better for yourself than anyone will.
Always. That's something I always say in my readings. It's like, I could tell you one thing, but you have to pay attention to your own discernment. You need to pay attention to your own intuition. And if something doesn't feel right, if something doesn't add up, then you need to honor that. You must always honor that, just how I will always honor it. So that's extremely important. So pay attention to your own discernment and respect your own discernment, and don't second guess it.
Yeah, love that.
All right, I'm gonna do a card pull. I got a new deck.
It's so cute.
It's so cute.
It's got little beehives on it.
Let me grab it. So this new oracle deck is called When My Soul Whispered Oracle Deck. And there's a bunch of like little animals and insects. So I'm going to pull a card for the collective. So let's see. I'm going to shuffle, friend.
Even the name of it, friend, is like we're talking about listening to your insight, like the soul. When my soul whispered.
Intuition.
I know, like
Intuition.
it's so good. It's so cute. There's like hives on the back of the cards. It's so cute.
And this deck is by Melissa Salvangio. Salvangio. I'm so sorry if I butchered that. I will link it down below. All right. I'm going to pull the top cards. So Spirit, give me a top card for the collective, please. Emotion.
Oh.
Okay.
All right.
Let's see. All right. So we got emotion. Angels represent the inherent divinity of all beings. The wings serve as your reminder that even during your greatest times of vulnerability, the divine always resides within. You are perfectly imperfect. And then there's a little poem attached to it. It's from Robert Frost. A poem begins as a lump in the throat, a sense of wrong, a hopelessness, and love sickness. Very cute. Let's see if there's anything more. Take a moment to think about where you are planting yourself emotionally. You're finding yourself in toxic soil, holding on to the negativity of times when you have been hurt, betrayed, or wronged. Or do you find yourself in a flux with the changing conditions, drinking in the water of every emotional experience, bracing against the cold when you're presented with difficulty, blooming under the full rays of the sun and basking in happiness? Just as hydrangeas mimic a range of emotions through color, expression, and remains malleable through the passage of time, allow yourself to experience your life through your emotions rather than allowing your emotions to dictate your stance in life. Do not push yourself too hard if you're feeling emotionally strained or unable to cope. As the world around you changes, so too should you allow your outward expression to reflect your shifting inner landscape. Neither allow yourself to be afraid of what you feel, nor be afraid to wear your heart on your sleeve.
Love that.
Yeah. And the chakra connected to it is the sacral chakra. So creativity.
Yeah. Pretty much exactly what we talked about the whole time. That's awesome.
Confirmation.
Thanks, Fran.
Yeah. Very cute deck.
Very cool. It's so cute. It's adorable. Yeah.
All right. I guess we'll do socials.
Sure. Please follow us on Instagram. It's One Thing Queer, and my personal Instagram is SpexRayX.
And my personal Instagram is at Jenny Lynn Bouton. And if you would like to follow us on TikTok, we are at One Thing Queer Podcast. Also, if you would like to come on or share your story, please email us at onethingqueer@gmail.com.
Yeah. Leave us a like, share with your friends.
Yes.
If they like spirituality also.
I know. We talk gay and spiritual and astrology.
We do. That's I would say the crux of it. Yeah. Tell your friends.
Tell your friends.
Yeah.
Oh, also review our podcast on Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star review and let us know what you think of the show.
Yeah.
And we're very eager to grow the podcast. So please share with your friends. It would really help us out. Leave a like, subscribe, follow on Spotify.
Send us a message if there's something that we haven't talked about that you would like to hear. Big sibling advice.
We're here.
Yeah.
And queer.
Get used to it. Just kidding. But yeah, I guess we'll see you next week.
Yes. We'll see you next week.
All right. Bye.
Music by Jacody Lamone. Produced by Kelsey Wren and Jenny Baton. Edited by Jenny Baton.